Okay, so just to kick things off, it's been 5 days since we met last. Happy belated Easter to everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. So since we took the weekend off, several of you elected to meet tonight on Monday as opposed to Sunday since yesterday was Easter. So we're going to go through what transpired over the last 5 days. Now, granted, I understand it was a holiday weekend, but if there are any updates or progress for your team, for your top 10 list, anything positive or exciting, you know, new things that you've learned or done or seen happen in your organization from the time we've been doing the calls, that'd be great. So if anybody has anything that they want to share before we get rolling or updates on the last 5 days.
We're going through our tree trying to make sure everyone has went through the blueprint and stressing the importance of going through that, watching the inviting video and trying to do things the right way from the start. Because we've got a few that I would probably say were low hanging fruit that haven't done much. So trying to get them motivated to start going through the blueprint and start doing some trainings.
Okay. We're going to do a virtual Super Saturday. If it's not this Saturday, we may do it next Saturday. Working with the leaders, we're trying to do a live one at some point before Vegas. So we've been talking about a couple of different dates and destinations. Um, so I'll be in touch with all of you about that, and making sure that you know so you can get your teams on it. Obviously, the one thing to keep in mind too is that most people don't ever really go through the training. It's like people will do it. And one of the reasons why a lot of people get into network marketing is because it's low barrier to entry, but it's also low barrier to exit, right? It's $200. I mean, it's easy to get started, but it's free 99 to quit and to cancel. So, there's no pain point there. And so a lot of times people won't get started doing training unless they see some success or see some results. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and obviously I'm glad that you mentioned that, is how to keep people in the bubble. There's this concept of keeping people in the bubble, meaning that they are not exposed to the negativity, the rejection, and it's that rejection roller coaster. It's you tell them not to say anything to anybody, you tell them not to try to explain it, not to sell it, but that's exactly what they do. So then they go home and somebody tells them, their spouse or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or whoever tells them that it's not going to work, they're not going to make any money, it's a scam, whatever, it's a timeshare, whatever they say. And it's like they started here, you're never more excited than you are the first time you hear it. And then immediately it begins this rejection roller coaster. And the concept of keeping someone in the bubble means that you keep them in an environment where they're insulated from the negativity and the rejection. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people to start with their board of directors and their top 10 list first. Because a lot of times people go for that low hanging fruit, the people that they have influence over. And the ones that they have influence over tend to be the ones that we really don't want. They think, oh, this person needs Bright Life, right? They lost their job, they're broke, they need money, they need an opportunity. But the thing is they may be just trying to survive. And so there's this fight or flight mentality when people get into survival mode, and it basically keeps them completely blinders on from anything else. And so that's why I tell people to start with the busiest people, because a lot of times new people, they're like, well, that person's successful, they're wealthy, they don't need this, because you associate what you wanted to get from Bright Life with what everybody else wants to get. And that might not be the case. And so the problem is that you're prejudging who is or isn't going to like it. And then what happens is you wind up going to your people that you have influence over, which tend to be the people that you don't want, which tend to be the more negative people that live in scarcity mentality, that don't live in abundance, and that are in fight or flight mode. And so the problem is that when people get out of the bubble because they broke rank, they did something out of protocol, they went and told, they went and sold, they tried to present, even though we never trained them. I did an entire almost 90 days in this mentorship series, the first group, And I never talked to them about how to present. Never told them, never talked to them about it. And I trained them for 90 straight days, every single day. So you think about that for a second. If presenting and doing a presentation was that important, don't you think in 90 days I would have gotten to it? But the thing is this is not a sales business. This is a sorting business. I've talked about this in other trainings where you're just flipping cards, you're just sorting. And so the problem is that people just don't make enough exposures. They don't make enough invites, they don't expose enough people. If you would just step back and let the information do the work, then you're going to see that you're going to get results. But the problem is most people get out of the bubble by doing it the wrong way. And when they're out of the bubble, now they're facing that rejection, that negativity. And a lot of people's pain tolerance, their threshold for negativity or rejection is lower than others. And so one person tells them it's not going to work, who may not even have a job, may not even have a house, may not even have a car, and they've judged them and they've judged Bright Life and they have no idea what they're talking about. But yet now that person, that was their one experience, and that was enough for somebody to basically check out. And so the problem is that if people don't immediately go into success, a lot of times they're reluctant to go to trainings, they're reluctant to plug in because they haven't had any success. However, if you can keep them in the bubble and they can have success immediately, they listen to everything you say. If everything you say happens, so if they follow the program, they'll stay in the bubble and then they will plug in. The problem lies in going and trying to get people who have been in for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 5 weeks, and they've done it all wrong. And then what's happened is they've unplugged. They think it doesn't work. Their confidence is killed. You know, they've had the negativity. They're at the bottom of the rejection roller coaster. And so then you can't get them to show up. You can't get them to invite. You can't get them to make calls. They think it's Bright Life's fault. It's not. If you just get the information in front of Bright Life, it does not matter who they are. I mean, we just this last week in Dallas, we sent up a guy who played, 13 seasons in the NFL. And a lot of people know him. He's a known, celebrity in the NFL world, in the sports world. And he didn't second guess anything. But the thing is he may have been on other people's lists, but they would have been like, well, why does he want to do Bright Life? He's rich. He played in the NFL for 13 years. Like, why does he need it? He doesn't need discounts. See, because people put their thought process on everybody else's decision, when in reality, you should just put the information in front of everybody and let them make a decision for themselves. And so by keeping people in the bubble and helping them have success, you can essentially guarantee your success because you keep them in the bubble and keep them away from the negativity and the rejection. And that's why starting with your best 10, the most influential 10, the most powerful 10, the wealthiest 10, the most connected 10, you get to those people. They may not all join. I've already told you that. But you're getting to people that couldn't have gotten there without help or assistance or mentorship from somebody else. So when you use the invite correctly and you ask them for their feedback, you ask them for their opinion, you defer to their experience, to their knowledge, you tell them that you respect them and this is important to you, all those things I talk about in the inviting video that I've asked you guys to watch, you're going to see that you're going to get those results. You're going to get the right results when you do the right work. I mean, this is how I know because I've been doing it for almost 30 years. So literally, when you do it the right way, you're getting the right results. If you're not getting results, okay, the results may vary. Results aren't typical. They're not typical if you don't do it the right way. And so that's really important to understand. And once people get through that rejection roller coaster, it's much harder to get them to plug in, to come to trainings and to get on calls and to do stuff because they already think that they've failed. They already think that Bright Life doesn't work or that it's not going to work or that they're not going to have success because they're out of the bubble. So your goal with a new person is to help them have success immediately, keep them in the bubble, make sure they're not selling, make sure they're only inviting. And the only way you can do that is to stay in control. And so that means that you need to listen to them make calls. You need to listen to them invite. You need to listen to them talk to their people. You need to follow up on their invites. If they told you they had 2 people getting on the Zoom tonight, but they didn't, you need to follow up immediately and be like, where were your people? Because it's important that you hold them accountable and make sure they understand that the expectations is that everybody gets the same results if you're doing it the right way. If you're not getting the same results as what we're talking about, something is a foul. Something is amiss. Because you will get the same results if you do the same work. I promise you. And so it's just a matter of doing more of it and following the program. So anybody else have any other feedback from the last 5 days, or questions or comments over the last 5 days, or anything exciting happening with their teams that you want to share update wise? Anybody else?
Justin's on the call. I just want to congratulate him. He's on my team. Went live for 800 recently.
Yeah, I saw that. Congrats, Justin. Thanks for getting on tonight. Appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, thank you. We're I feel like I'm still learning something new every day. That's why I'm here tonight, and just trying to really hone in on some people I think that will be good at teaching the people below them. That's what I'm focused on right now.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's just, if you can just have people have success, I'm telling you, that is the most effective way of teaching and getting duplication, and just staying in control of the information, and listening and following up. A lot of times people think that the goal is to sign someone up. So they sign them up, and then it's like, okay, go get them. It's like, go get the people on the call. The Zooms are tomorrow night. Get them, go get them, and then you're just like waiting for them to come back with people. But the thing is that you've got a handhold. And so I tell people, your job is not done until they get their first sale at a minimum. But what happens is, once they see that they can do it, once they have success, once they feel that feeling of having someone join their organization, sign up on their link, join their team, the attitude is forever changed. And so the sooner you can create that. And so I would literally try to force it. I would sign somebody up and I would say, how fast can you get me in front of your 10 best people? Who are they and where are they and how can I get in front of them? And so I literally forced it, because I knew that if I could keep them in the bubble and have success immediately, then they could do it without me, because then they were going to see that what I tell them is true. It does work if they follow the program. But if you sign them up and you're like, hey, the call's tomorrow night, go get them. Good luck. Here's the Bright Life Blueprint. Good luck. I hope you do well. The problem is that's what a lot of people do. And that's where people get out of the bubble, because they don't do it right. They don't feel comfortable. They don't follow the program. They don't go watch the trainings. They don't watch the videos. They don't read the Bright Life Blueprint. They just start calling their friends. Low hanging fruit. They're calling their cousin and they're like, hey bro, I just did, I signed up for this travel thing. We're going to get rich. We're going to take trips. We're going to be on jets. We're going to be popping bottles, whatever. And then their friends are like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? You've never been anywhere. You don't even have a passport. Like, they know, because they're their friends. You're not a prophet in your own town. We talked about that before on some of the other calls. We talked about it on Saturday in the training, and so the problem lies in that most people think the goal is to sign someone up. That is not the goal. The goal is to get duplication, because if you were just a sales machine and just signing people up, this is not where you're going to get paid. All right. You should go sell timeshares or sell cars, sell a high ticket item. If you're a salesperson and you're a closer and you're not going to get duplication, and you're not going to sit down with your people, you're not going to listen to them invite, you're not going to help them with their exposures, you're not going to help them do a travel party or a grand opening or a launch event, you're not going to help them get started, you should go do something else, because the $100 direct, that is not the money. The money is in the residual income. And in order to get the residual income, you have to get the duplication. So I know a couple of you are coaches, sports guys. And so I want to give you a sports analogy, because this is the best analogy that'll help you learn how to have success at this business. Because I came from sales into network marketing. And so I thought that signing somebody up was making a sale. And I came from direct sales, selling Cutco. And so I always got incentivized or, rewarded for making a sale. And so I thought when I got started that my job was to sign people up. But really, in reality, it's kind of like, it's like a baseball game, but opposite result. Okay. So picture yourself as the pitcher. Okay. And as the pitcher, you don't want the batter to get all the way around to home. Okay. But in this example, you are the pitcher and you want your batter to score. Okay. Now, most people think scoring is signing them up, but it's not, because it starts with the introduction, with the invite. Because remember, they're answering those two questions. Can I do this and will it work? So you're already working when you're inviting. And so the pitch to the batter is the invite. And so you invite them first, and if you do a good job inviting, you're going to get them to first. Okay. So You throw the pitch, you do a good invite, and you get them to first. They make a hit, they connect, they get to first, okay? Then second base is actually having them get exposed. So a lot of times people are like, well, I invited a bunch of people, but nobody showed up. Well, that meant that your inviting was not good. It was not effective. So you can invite a bunch of people, but if nobody shows up, nobody gets on, nobody actually gets exposed, then nobody gets to second. So invite is the pitch, gets them to first. But getting them to second is actually going through an entire presentation. So Zoom, a live event, a one-on-one, a two-on-one, a travel party, whatever. That's second base. Then most people think third base is the goal. So getting someone signed up after the exposure is third base. But then getting them home is duplication. See, in baseball, you don't get any points for getting people to third, right? You have to get them all the way to home. You don't get points for getting people to first. You can have a lot of hits, get a lot of people to first, get a lot of people to second, get a lot of people to third. But if you suck at getting people from third to home, you get no points. The goal of this baseball game is to get them home. Scoring runs is getting duplication. When your new person gets their new person, that is when you celebrate. That is when they get home. And in this baseball game, you want people to score. And so it starts with you as the pitcher making that first introduction and then expose, okay, or invite, expose, sign up, and then duplicate. Those are the bases. Those are getting your runs is only happening once you get them home. So if you're just signing people up and you're like, good luck, go figure it out, go make your calls, go do whatever, go watch the video, go watch the training, go read the blueprint, I'll see you on the calls tomorrow. No, you have to handhold. You have to work with them. You have to listen to them. You have to get in the trenches with them. You have to help them. If you do that, you stay in control of the information and then you will have success because they will be in the bubble because you followed the program and kept them in the bubble and therefore they're going to have success. And in my experience, once somebody has success, they are very unlikely to quit. I would say in my experience, probably 90% of the people that quit have that rejection rocket early and they don't have the good experience. And so no matter when they quit, that was their first experience. Or some people have a higher tolerance and maybe they have more money so they can last a little longer. Maybe they stay in a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 6 months. But generally the people who quit had early problems, early resistance, early rejection, early negativity, and some of them stayed in longer than others. But your people that have immediate success and stay in the bubble, they never quit, almost never quit. They will be a member forever because their first experience was having success. And so that's why you want to keep people in the bubble. And that's why once they're out of the bubble, it's really hard to get them to work. It's really hard to get them to make calls because in the back of their mind, they're going, why would I make calls? Nobody's going to show up. Or why would I make calls? Nobody's signing up because they're not using third-party validation. They're not inviting properly. They're getting the wrong results. And so they don't think that anything you're saying is going to work for them. So they just tune you out. So then they stop showing up, they stop calling, they stop coming to Zooms, they stop inviting because they're out of the bubble. And once they're out of the bubble with negativity or rejection, it's impossible to get them back in. So now it takes almost twice as much work or 3 times or 4 times or 5 times as much work or success in order to get them re-engaged and get them working and doing it again because they already had rejection. They already had negativity because they did it wrong. So I really want you guys to focus on that. If you've not watched that inviting video, you got to go watch it so you can start inviting. We've got to get some more people in front of the information. That's really the big difference for this particular group is getting more people exposed, meaning that you've got to be making calls. I was making calls today. We have an event here. I had some guests on the call tonight. I'm actually still getting messages. We have an event tomorrow night in Dallas. So we're doing an event tomorrow night in Dallas. So I'm going to be inviting for that, even when we're done right now. And then tomorrow during the day, I'll be inviting for that. And then we're going to do a piggyback event on Wednesday that we're going to tell people about tomorrow night. So Tuesday night, we're going to do a live event in Dallas. And at the end of that event, we're going to tell them about the Wednesday night event. And we're going to teach them how to invite and bring people back for Wednesday. So that's called leapfrogging. And we'll get into some more of that a little bit later. But we're doing that here. I'm doing the same things that I'm teaching you. And so part of your assignment for this week, because we're going to talk again on Wednesday night, is making sure that you are following the program and keeping your people engaged and trying to keep them in the bubble. And then also just making more calls. I talked about the importance of calling through that top 10 list every time you make calls, every time you invite. And if people are not responding, you need to be taking people off that list and replacing them with different people so that you're constantly inviting and constantly getting results. This is a sorting business. It's not a sales business. Not everybody's going to say yes, but you just got to get in front of more people. So as far as assignments go for Wednesday night, I really would love to hear total results from your top 10 list. So if you haven't been on the previous calls, go back and watch those early calls, get that top 10 list done, invite, then let's Wednesday night, let's get an update on that top 10 list. Let's hear about some positive activity, positive results. I know it was a holiday weekend, so hard to get things done and accomplished over the last few days, but hopefully Wednesday night, that'll give you 48 hours essentially to get some results. And we'll be back here on Wednesday. Try to get some people from your team on here for Wednesday. The more, the merrier. We'd love to see some more people plugging in. The more people we have plugging in, the better the results are going to be and the longer I'm going to keep doing it. But if we don't have people plugging in, then I probably will shorten the calls or make them a little less frequent since people are not taking advantage of them. So let me know if y'all need anything. Everybody should have my contact information. Thank you for being on here tonight. We will see you back here on Wednesday night, same time, same place. God bless.
Thanks, Wes.